The views and opinions expressed by the guest author or speaker during this live session are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Reader's Magnet. The content shared is for informational purposes only and does not constitute endorsement or promotion of any particular belief, ideology, or product.
Hello, authors, book lovers, and storytellers, and welcome to another exciting episode of Reader's Magnet featured author interview, where we dive deep into the world of creativity and inspiration. And our guest for today is the author of the book Generations of Good Food. So please help me welcome Miss Eleanor Gaccetta. So, Ellie, how are you doing today?
I'm well. Thank you. Thank you, Rob. I'm well.
And Ellie, by the way, welcome to the Hive, though. It's good to have you. And to all of our viewers, though, as you see right now on your books, on your screens, you'll be seeing the book cover of Generations of Good Food. But also, Ellie has another book, which is One Caregiver's Journey. And you can always check that out through Amazon, Barnes& and Noble, or through her website there, as you're seeing on the cover there. And you know what's beautiful about this, guys? These are two different books with two very wonderful stories. But right now, we're here to talk about Generations of Good Food. So if everyone want to grab a copy and follow along, feel free to click on the link at the comment section. We'll be pinning down that Amazon link for you guys. So, Ellie, first and foremost, talking more about this book. So, what inspired you to create a cookbook that spans around 6 generations of Italian recipes and family stories?
Well, after my mother passed away, I and let me just preface this by saying Generations of Good Food encompasses the 10 years that I was a 24/7 sole caregiver for my mother. After she passed away, I was actually getting ready to paint a pantry when I came across all of her cookbooks. And I decided to haul them all to the dining room table, and I began picking out some of her favorite recipes. Many of the recipes in the book are from her grandmother or from her aunts. And so I then just started writing out the recipes. I got the 200 recipes, or most of the 200 recipes, and I had a binder printed for her granddaughters, her great granddaughters, and some of her nieces. And during the pandemic, the management at Reader's Magnet asked me if I had a book that they could use to kind of go through the process, because so many people were working remote that it was hard to track where the books were going in the publication process. And then I transcribed all of the written, handwritten recipes onto my computer, and here we are. But it was, I just wanted my nieces and my cousins to have their grandma's recipes.
Love that, love that, love that. And talking more about your book here, Ellie, could you share a favorite story or memory from your family that stands out to you while you were compiling this cookbook then?
Compiling the cookbook is really funny because most of the recipes have stories with them. There's not one particular one. I would say in total, having all of them and knowing that these are the recipes that bring family to the table. These are the recipes that you remember when you're writing it, when the sweet Easter bread recipe, since Easter is coming up. The sweet Easter bread recipe was at one point a spoon of this and a handful of salt and a spoon of this. Well, my hand and your hands are different sizes. So one particular time when we were baking it, my cousin and I made them stop, and we measured everything before it went into the book. And that's how we came up with the actual recipe. So those are the kinds of things that you think about when you're writing out these recipes. You think about, I remember when Marlene and I did that, or I remember when Cindy and the girls came and Nana had a cooking class, and they were too busy talking and laughing to listen to how to cook. But it's just the memories that it brings back, not a particular recipe, but going through it is a lot of memories.
Yeah, I do I do love that idea though. Like trying to do some trial and error, just make sure to have the actual recipes being compiled within the cookbook, which is
Oh,
really
yes.
really fun to do though. But I just want to ask Ellie, is what was the most challenging part of compiling then? Because again, it's nearly 200 recipes for this book. Like, what was the most challenging part of it?
When I had handwritten out all the recipes that I copied in the binder.
Mm-hmm.
When I started to put them in my computer, I would be going through and I'd be writing, I'd have the ingredients and then I'd be going through the directions on how to make the recipe. And maybe it would say saute the garlic. And then you'd stop and say, but there's no garlic in the recipe.
Mm, okay.
So then I'd have to go back up. And what I ended up doing, Rob, was I ended up literally either making each of these recipes in my kitchen to make sure that everything was there, or
Mm-hmm.
making them in my head to make sure that I remembered how to make them.
Mm,
And that was the most challenging part. When it was being edited, my editor would say, you know, this particular recipe has 1C. Is that a cup? Is that a can? Is that, what is that? And so probably the most challenging part on a lot of them is to make sure that everything is identical across the board on all 200 recipes. A can is a can, a teaspoon is a teaspoon, a tablespoon is a capital T.
mm-hmm.
The teaspoons are a small t, the can, and I mean, just it goes, trust me.
Oh,
There we are.
okay.
But so that's that.
And coming back with it again, it's
We have another.
again more. It's more. Well, if I'm thinking about it though, thinking more about a challenge, but it's more like a process that has been embraced as well when creating this cookbook. And it's something that a lot of people can learn as well whenever we're trying to create something, like trying to start off a band or even a cookbook or a novel or a story or a memoir. It always boils down to how the process works out for you. But here's
Mhm.
one thing, because since we're talking about generations of good food here, Ellie, if you could choose one recipe from the book that you'd recommend to someone who's never cooked Italian food before, which one would it be and why?
You know, most of the Italian recipes in that book are not really meant. You
Hmm.
know, I might say something as silly as make a batch of pizza dough.
Okay.
Make a batch of pizza dough. Very simple. Just a package of yeast, some water,
Hmm.
some salt, a little oil. Mix it up, let it rise. And
Hmm.
then once you go from there, buy a jar of pizza sauce and
Okay.
and put your favorite toppings on. What do you like when you order a pizza from the deli? What do you like when you phone in and Pizza Hut and say, "Send me, deliver this," and put those toppings on, and then just bake it according to that. And then all you got, I mean, you're learning how to make the dough, but everything else is simple. I mean, you like pepperoni? Do you like cheese? Do you like, and all of that stuff is at your disposal. You don't have to cook it. A little pepper, a little salt, some oregano, and put it in the oven. And then 25 minutes later, when it comes out, you've made your own pizza. Pretty much all the pasta dishes in the book are fairly. You need to have some skill.
Love that. Love that. Okay. And I do love the idea of having pizza dough, so at least you can create your own pizza, try to
Mhm.
create your own memories with there. And also, Ellie, within this cookbook as well, are there any hidden gems or unexpected recipes in the book that you think readers will be particularly excited to try then?
I think there's a lot. One of the
Hmm.
things that I have learned is I learned that I really do love making candy.
Oh, okay.
Um, it's a skill, and it's just something very different from standing by the stove cooking.
Hmm.
Um, but there's a lot in the candies. there's a lot in the cookies. The sweet butter recipe, the sweet butter cookie recipe is versatile. You can make 4 different cookies from that one particular recipe. I think those are the kinds of things that resonate with me, is how can you do something? How can you make something more? Oreo, your coworkers have told me they have made the Oreo balls, which is basically cream cheese and cookies. But they've made them, instead of with Oreos, they've made them with other kinds of cookies. And you can, it's just the diversity. There's just a lot you can do with not a lot.
Okay. And that is one thing that I think people can also expect when it comes with having your book. Though there are, again, little less is more, in a sense, that when it comes with cooking as well. Like
Yes.
if you do have less ingredients, you can still create a lot of things out of those
Yes.
ingredients. I
Yes.
love
And
that.
if you don't have everything that a recipe calls for, use what you
Mhm.
have. Make something that's your own. Use what you have. Use it. It doesn't have to. Cooking is a science, and baking is an art. Now, if you're baking, you need to follow the recipe right down to the wire. But if you're
Mhm.
cooking, add what you want, change it up how you want. You don't have hamburger, add sausage. You don't have this, add that. Um, you don't like that kind of ham, use what kind of ham you like. You don't like that cheese, use what kind of cheese you like. If you don't like Parmesan, then go ahead and use Romano. I mean, it's all you just it, the whole point of cooking, other than being able to eat,
Mhm.
is enjoying. I mean, the pandemic brought people into the kitchen, and all of a sudden people were having to cook their own food, and they
True.
learned and they learned.
Agree. And again, it always boils down to how willing are you to really to get those kitchen utensils,
Yes.
start cooking yourself a meal. And if ever you have the guts and discipline to start doing it, then anyone can cook, as long as you have as even if you're a novice or expert, though, you can always grab a ladle and try to cook something up. But want
Yes.
to ask you here, Ellie, coming back with this book here. So, what makes the recipes in this cookbook suitable for both novice and experienced cooks? Then.
Well, so many of the cookies, and
Mhm.
I I am asked very frequently, what's the one recipe in the cookbook that you can make if you don't know how to cook?
Mm.
And my comment is always, I mean, you could do the Oreo ball, since that's Oreos and cream cheese, period,
Okay.
and sprinkles. But I always move people to the banana bread recipe. It's
Okay.
a simple recipe. It's easy to make, uh, fail proof. I've never had it not turn out. Um, and it's a way to get you into the kitchen and associated with the mixer, and how to measure ingredients, as opposed to some of the pasta dishes, um, or even like caponata, that takes 2 days to make and assemble and put, and it's an Italian relish dish. Um, even the sweet Easter bread that I mentioned before takes time. It takes time. You have to have patience to wait for bread to rise. You have to be able to know how to make your loaves, how to make your rolls, how to if you want to, you can even use it for make cinnamon rolls if you wanted. But something something easy. They're the cookie recipes are easy. The cake recipes, not so much. But the cookie recipes are all things that you could follow. They're all very different.
Mhm.
That's how you. It's how you learn. There's a lot to learn in the kitchen. There's a lot to learn in the kitchen, with patience and love and aggravation when things don't go right, because things don't always go right in the kitchen. But
Honest, that's
you
true.
you you know you have to decide if you're going to throw in the dish towel or if you're going to try it again.
I love that one. I love that one. Okay,
Hmm.
never stop trying. Keep on moving forward, and up until you
Yes,
get that perfect mix of sweet and salty goodness. Though, whenever you start cooking,
yes, yes.
and and you know
I
what?
mean,
Again,
even as
so
something as simple.
Yes, go on.
something as simple as baking a chicken, making a steak. Uh,
Hmm.
there's just you just have to learn how to do it right, and it
Okay.
takes sometimes. I'm here to tell you, I've thrown a lot. I've had a lot of butter and sugar and flour go into the trash, but you get it right eventually.
Yes, I do agree. And again, and for all of our viewers, though, if ever you want to start cooking, though, and try to get again the best of the best recipes here, again, when it comes with books, though, I would highly suggest grab a copy of Generations of Good Food and start your cooking experience and adventures with Ellie's book, Generations of Good Food, available through Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And also, you can purchase a book that's available at her website. That's onecaregiversjourney.com. And also try to get the Ellie Gaccetta series, though, One Caregiver's Journey, alongside Generations of Good Food. You'll have two books and you'll have something you can read on, something you cook on, and something you can learn from as well. And you know,
Right.
Ellie, just want to say this though. Thank you very much for joining us today. I really had a pleasure hearing from you and knowing more about this book. And thank you very much for joining us today here at the Hive.
Thank you, Kel. Thank you, Rob, and thank you, Kel, for being backstage for us.
Okay, no worries. And again, to
Thank
all
you.
of our viewers, thank you very much for tuning in. And always remember that every ending is just a new beginning in the world of stories. May your reading adventures be endless and your imagination boundless. And as we say here at Reader's Magnet, we share your
We
stories
share
with the
your
world.
story with the
Thank you
world.
and have a good one. Bye bye.
Bye.